obviously when we lived together we were together for 2 years in the States, and so we didn't actually make any friends together
No,
when
we
we were in the
didn't.
States because we already had our community. Was sort of the community overlapped a little bit where, and that's how we met. I had my community, you had your community, and there was a place where in our circle of friends there was a few people that overlapped, and that was how we met. Um, so yeah, so we didn't actually find people that we didn't make new friends or meet new friends together. It wasn't until we moved here that shifted, and now all of a sudden we're in a new place and kind of needing to make friends to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think like we were very content in the US. Like we both had our own friends. Like you had your friends, I had my friends, and then like there were friends that we had. Yeah, like you said, like mutual friends, and like I don't know. Like I didn't feel like I needed to make friends.
Yeah.
So but coming here, where it's like the I didn't live in this country for like more than 8 years. So the only friends I had, which they're still like my really good friends, are like the childhood friends and my family. Those are like in the first months the friends that we had. But we technically most of our friends are like interracial.
Right. Yeah, and not on purpose.
No.
So the friends that we have met over time have actually it was a sort of a gravitational. So we have a neighbor a few houses down, and at one point she was driving by and she's seen us walking up and down. She said, "Oh, you should come over sometime. We'll have you over for tea. You can meet my husband." And sure
And I was
enough,
really excited because
yeah.
we didn't know people in our neighborhood. So I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna come." And I was like, she was like, "Do you want to come now?" We were going on a walk, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come in now, and we'll have some tea, coffee." And we walk inside, and her husband is white.
Yeah.
He's British.
Right, and then eventually, we had her over for dinner, and then they had us over for dinner. And when we went, not only was it us and their interracial, relationship, but then
There was another
her
white dude.
brother-in-law was there, who was not her husband's brother, but her sister's husband. And her sister, as a Kenyan woman, had also married a Mzungu, which is they call a white guy here. And then another friend was there who was also in a similar situation, whose parents were actually interracial. And then she kind of continued that, and she married an Italian man. And so we began to see this, right? And then for your birthday, we went and we stayed at this little lodge, and this guy starts talking to us, and it turns out he owns the place. And we talked for about 5 minutes. He goes, "Oh, hold on one second. I'm going to go get my fiance."
And she turns out to be a black woman.
And he was white. So.
And we hit it off really well,
Yeah.
and we continued having dinner with them. And the next day, they also run an orphanage in the lodge. So we met them for breakfast, and they showed us around the orphanage. And we were like, "You guys, you should, when you're in town, come over to our house." And sure enough,
2 days later, or was it 2 days or 1 day later?
it was like one day later, he called me and he's like, "Hey, can we come over?" And I was like, "Yeah, come over." So we made them dinner, and like, I don't know if because they're interracial or just because they're like really cool people that I respect, but I see them as being our friends.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things is not, like I said, I don't think it was never intentional, but there are these certain things when you and I go out here, something actually happens, and sometimes it's unpleasant because there'll be people who make kind of underhanded comments, sometimes kind of like nasty comments when they see you walking with the white guy. And we were talking about this morning of without ever needing to bring it up with her, she like there's this understanding of like I've had to deal with that too, and there are certain things that I think. And maybe this is one thing that brings people of sort of similar situations together is we don't actually even have to talk about it because we know we share certain experiences. So those things, there's just a comfort in knowing that, which is a little bit weird to me to sort of think about that comfort in the commonality, which I guess is probably makes sense. It comes in many areas of our lives, right? We like, there's a certain comfort in things that we know or understand.
Yeah, like I'm sure like she understands like what I face, like when we go out to a restaurant, like if they run a restaurant, so she knows, and she's like really independent and smart human being. But like I think I did talk to she, like when the bill came, she like instructed the waiter to give it to me, which has been like very unusual in Kenya because people will just assume that you are paying, and for her she just wasn't gonna take that assumption because she knows that assumption, so there was a lot of things like when I talked to her, I was like, I understand the kind of relationship you're in, so yeah, and she's great. So, and then our other friends, which was like so
Almost accidental, right?
Accidental,
because it was
yeah.
from an online group.
So we joined,
expats.
when we moved here, we joined a group of like experts, and this guy, so we live in a smaller town, and this guy posts and he's like, hey, what can I do in Nakuru? And I was like, on Facebook. So I figured I can answer that, and I was like, oh, this is like, you can go to the creator. And he was like, I'm coming and you can take this public transportation. And he was like, oh, my wife and I are coming on Saturday, Sarah, if you guys want to grab something to eat. And I was like, yeah, sure. Then he calls me later and he's like, my Airbnb was canceled. Where can I book a room? And I'd never met this guy, but I was like, we have an extra room. Just,
come and take it. It's
crash.
It's empty.
Yeah, you and your wife come and crash in our house. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that was like, we're leaving the next day. We'll leave you with the key. We have to leave at 6 a.m, but the house is yours.
Yeah, and I figure like couch surfing works, like it's gonna be fine, So he shows up, and his wife is Mexican, and he's British,
Mm-hmm.
and we've become really good friends. Like now they live in the city, and when we go to the city, they host us, and we always have a place to stay. And yeah, maybe you can talk about like a little bit.
Yeah, she and I ended up running the half marathon together in Kilimanjaro a couple weeks ago. But to me, I think one of the things that is that it's not ever intentional, but I think there are these certain elements that are like, there's almost a comfort. Well, we talked about this a minute ago, but like it's a comfort because there is a bit of like, wherever we go, whether we're here or even in the US, because like I am really, really white.
And I am very, very African.
Yeah.
And Kenyan and black.
On the spectrum, I'm pretty close to as white as you can be, and you're pretty much as black as you can be.
Pretty much.
And so wherever we go, we get noticed. The contrast is something that's noticed. Sometimes people talk about it. It gets mentioned. People will say something to us. Every once in a while, I feel like, oh, this is a little glimpse of like what it would be like to be a celebrity, because you go places and people look, particularly here. But even for me,
yeah. Like when I went to UCLA, people noticed. Like
even just you by yourself.
Yeah. People would like.
Because UCLA is like 2% black or something.
Yeah, and when I would speak in class, my professor would never forget my face. Like that is like something. Like I'm a very vocal person, so like I would answer questions, like, but my professor would notice me immediately.
Right.
And that meant like not just my professors, but other students. I don't know, like I have this like black face that just screams Africa.